Hello, everyone. I hope.
Howdy. We're
Hello,
here.
everyone. I hope. You can never tell because, Twitch has that whole occasionally invalidating your stream key and not telling you thing. For those of you out there who, don't immediately recognize us, I'm Nath or Anathema or Shane, and I'm the project coordinator for Foundry Virtual Tabletop. I'm joined, of course, by my co-host Cody.
Hello.
Cody, tell the people who you are.
You may not recognize me because I'm not under a bus currently, but I am Cody Sandrowski. I am a developer. I am blamed for half of all Pathfinder 2E and 1E issues. Definitely correctly and right fairly. I help run the development community.
And we're going to be joined a little later today by our guest. We always include a guest in hammering it out. Cora, one of the moderators from the Foundry Discord, and totally not for any other reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we've been neck deep and head down on Foundry version 10. I say we like I contribute any code whatsoever.
Please don't.
Please don't. Of course, with everything coming to a head, we also have version 9, stable 4 that we're working towards just to round out a few bugs, finish a few things off that kind of lingering irritations from version 9. Nothing super critical or like game breaking. I think 9 is our most stable build to date. Not version 10 though. If you're out there and you are considering installing or upgrading to version 10 and you are not an experienced developer, don't. It's intended for us to get some feedback from developers on some pretty serious changes coming down the pipe that still have some reasonable issues that we need to deal with. And we want to make sure that everything's going to work nice and smooth for everyone else when the time comes.
Version 10 is coming. It is probably several months away from when we would recommend the average user to use it for their regular games. So be patient there. We will be doing streams and updates along the way. And we'll be putting it in the hands of people to try out with one-shots and such. Not this phase, which is prototype, not next phase, which is the development testing phase, but the phase after that, the feature testing phase. So we've got some time before it's going to be in your hands, but we hope you share the excitement as we get towards that goal.
For those people who are out there who are wondering what features V10's going to bring, a lot. It's a lot. The ones that we can... This is just the list of the ones we can talk about, but we've got native core support for pings on the canvas, which also have a really, really nice effect. If you're not on the... If you can't actually see where the ping touches, it puts a little arrow in the corner of your screen indicating where you should go look. Just really clever on Kim's part for that. We've also got tooltips and Cody's official long-term project tours. We're going to see some work in that area in V10. I believe you might be able to share some insight on what exactly the document data refactor is going to mean. Try and explain it in a way that I'll understand it.
We have historically always had a Foundryism, which is you access things by doing something.data.data, and we finally have made that easier. It will not impact users, but for developers, it should make things a lot easier and more clear and reduce bugs and make things easier and faster to build.
That's a much clearer explanation than I would have given, because to me, the whole document data refactor stuff is way over my head.
Yep. That's okay. That's, sometimes we build some things for developers, some things for content creators, some things for publishers, and some things for users. Document data refactor was for developers.
I believe that Matt's green screen effect seems to be affecting my face.
Yeah, I think it's affecting all of our video, actually.
Whoops. Okay.
Oh, well.
So, folks, you get digitized Cody and Nath today.
It has a very kind of like someone rolled a rock over the image. Like it's a nice effect, I think.
I've got kind of like a comic book like posterization effect going on, like comic book supervillain almost. I'm kind of digging it. I'm not gonna lie. So,
Yeah.
of course, in addition to the document data refactor, getting back to what's in version 10, we also have some more lighting improvements coming because we basically can't release a version without doing something related to lighting.
Lighting.
Vision.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, we recently hired on Secret Fire one of the community developers who have made some fantastic lighting modules. He is now working for us part-time, and those are now going into core, or at least some of the ideas are. I'm excited for when those are shown off, but I'm not going to spoil them. And we did do a recent, actually, Andrew did a recent stream where he showed off, I think for like over 2 hours, what was in just V10 Prototype 1. So if you want to see the full nitty gritty details on all this, go check that. I think it's still up as a Twitch VOD, and it'll be up as a YouTube video later. Oh, I'm no longer Gravel.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so our hidden producer behind the scenes managed to straighten up the strange green screen effect, so that's taken care of, and we shouldn't run into that.
And Andrew just dropped the YouTube link in this chat, so if you want to check out more about version 10, there's where you can find it.
Yeah. I'll also add that in addition to the lighting performance improvements, we're also doing a lot of work on the UX and UI. We've upgraded Font Awesome, and there's a whole bunch of new icons coming. Sorry, let me clarify that a little bit. There are new icons coming for the UI, not as part of our icon set. We didn't put anyone down the icon mines for this. Sorry, sci-fi people.
Maybe VLO.
And Jinker comments that we're being so cryptic, and I apologize. We don't want to get people's hopes up too soon in the event that some things that we're hoping will bring don't actually make it into the final build.
Also, this isn't, we're here to talk with guests and ask exciting questions. There are other streams where we'll talk about those kinds of features.
Oh yes, you can absolutely look forward to development streams, as always, going forward. So that kind of brings us to the biggest news of the week. I'm pretty sure everyone by now is aware. We have partnered with Paizo Incorporated in the interest of bringing basically as much content as we can feasibly produce in a 2-month period to everyone, particularly the Pathfinder 2e community, of course. This has been an absolutely, I don't want to say monumental effort, but it has so many moving parts, and there are so many people involved and excited about this project that this process to get here for that announcement on Tuesday started more than 9 months ago. In meetings with Paizo, with the PF2E development community, Sigil, Sirenscape, just even Forgotten Adventures, and like particular stakeholders in the community to make sure that we were securing the best quality we could possibly attain for these forthcoming packages. someone comments that this was what I was hinting at during the last stream, and yes, it was. It was so hard for us to keep quiet about this because we've been so excited, not only from a Foundry side, but like I can't laud the PF2E community enough. Ooh, did I cut out there? I think I may have cut out there.
I've been hearing you fine, but
right. So I can't laud the PF2E community enough for the level of operational security that they've managed to maintain. Many of them have known this project was coming since as early as last September, and just not a single leak, no word getting around, nothing hinted at publicly. So coming into the announcement and being able to drop that bomb on the entire community with the reception we got back just felt so rewarding.
thank God no one asked any news on Paizo in the chat. We would have legally had to tell them, right?
I mean, that's the rules. Like,
that's the rules. You can't lie.
If we have news about something, we should probably share it, right? For those of you who are wondering, no, we do not have any news to share about Wizards of the Coast. Please do not try and draw any parallels. I'm serious when I say that. We, at some point in the future, maybe, we'll see. But yeah, so starting with the beginner box on the 16th is our target date, just in time to go out ahead of the beginner box. Can you really call it beginner box day if it's 2 days? Yes. I feel like it should be beginner box weekend, but anyway, I digress. Beginner box day on the 23rd and 24th, which is a community-sponsored event that I'm pleased to announce we are going to be taking part in. We're going to be running a live stream game with some Foundry staff, some Pathfinder 2 community members, just to bring some levity and fun to the post-release period. There's always such I want to say, build-up to that final day when you actually pull the trigger and release something to the community. So being able to take a couple of days after that and just relax and have fun and experience the content we've created is going to be great.
For those who don't play Pathfinder, what is the beginner box?
I don't play Pathfinder, Cody. You know
well,
this.
You worked on the project. We better bring in our guest for that question.
Yeah. I think we should bring in our guest here shortly. But before we do, I can answer that the beginner box is basically it's an introduction to the Pathfinder 2nd edition system. And we're coming at it like that for the actual physical edition of it, the printed copy, the board game style you can pick up in any store. It's essentially everything you need as a GM and some players in order to drive the actual introduction to a game. So it's built for people who've never role-played before and has a lot of kind of, I don't want to say watered down rules, but simplified rules for approaching Pathfinder, which is going to be good because I hear it's a game with a lot of rules, and I'm not a real rules heavy kind of guy, and I hate D20. So coming from that and jumping into it is going to be a very interesting experience, especially considering the way we're approaching it, which is it's not only going to be an introduction to how to play Pathfinder, it's going to be an introduction to how to play Pathfinder using Foundry Virtual Tabletop.
We actually have Andrew White in our chat. We just saw him.
Hey, look, it's Andrew White from Paizo.
Hi, Andrew White.
Hi, Andrew White from Paizo.
What other things are we releasing as part of this partnership to start?
Right. So, in addition to the stuff we're working on, which is specifically the beginner box and Abomination Vaults coming in May, we're partnered through Paizo. We're working in cooperation with Sigil Entertainment Group, with which, I mean, some of you are going to know from their work on Suede projects and the is it, I can never remember, Savage Pathfinder, I think, is the way they market it. It's like the Suede conversion of the Savage Worlds conversion of Pathfinder content, which launched a few months ago, I want to say. So we're working in partnership with them to help guide the process and standardize quality across all of these products to try and make sure that everything that we're bringing out for Pathfinder 2 is kind of at the same bar. So yeah, we're dropping. They're dropping Outlaws of Alkenstar, Punks in a Powder Keg, which is the first book. Later in April, we kind of beat them to the punch with Beginner Box, but I think people who pick up the Beginner Box and see the quality of it are probably going to be motivated to continue purchasing similar packages and get that experience with more advanced content.
Now, this isn't just a content conversion, from what I understand. The teams have been hard at work to make this, I want to call it an HD remake because I'm a gamer, but this is more than just a one-to-one. What have you all done to enhance the experience?
Right, so we actually had this really complicated problem because many of you may be aware of a little module. It's slightly popular, called PDF to Foundry, which was made and maintained by the awesome Fry guy who, the amount of work he put into that and keeping it going, I'm amazed he was able to keep it up as long as he did. By my rough estimation, he was spending like 20, 30 hours, sometimes maybe even 40 hours a month maintaining that content. Now, I say this so that no one thinks I'm giving him any shit or talking trash about his work. He is probably one of the most singular people responsible for driving us to the level of quality we ended up choosing for this. So, PDF to Foundry is this awesome module that if you already own the PDF from Paizo, if you've already bought the adventure modules or what have you, it will convert that purchased PDF you have after verifying that you actually own it. It will convert that content for use in our platform. So you get the journals, you get the creatures, maps with walls, the whole works, all ready to go, provided you have purchased the PDF through Paizo's store. So what do we sell you in that case, right? If we already have something in the community that's available for free that's doing content conversions, we need to find a way. I'm seeing some commentary in chat that I may be dropping.
Is my audio so clear or is it just Nath? Oh no. Alright, it's just Nath.
Okay. Give me just one moment.
Okay, apparently you're good now. Continue.
Yes,
rewind a little.
To rewind a little, with Fry Guy providing this awesome content already, we needed to think about what we could provide that would go above and beyond that. We needed to find ways to give value to the community, otherwise we're competing against a free product, and that's a no-win situation. So, in meeting with Fry Guy and meeting with the PF2E devs and some of the fine folk at Paizo, we came to the conclusion the right way was to drive quality, find ways to bring more. So not only do you get higher res versions of the original maps that have been upscaled and kind of tweaked a little bit to work better in a virtual tabletop setting, because they were only ever originally made for published works. You also get full remakes. In our case, we hired a community member that some others may know the name of, Narky, who has released a bunch of free high-definition-ish remakes of the Paizo maps himself, using Forgotten Adventures assets. Now, of course, we have a license with Forgotten Adventures, so being able to hire Narky in and go, we want you to take the remakes you've already done and remake them a third time, but this time all the bells and whistles. We want foreground layers, we want overhead tiles, we want you to take what you've already been doing for free and do it to 11. The machine only goes to 10. We're gonna go with 11. Bring it up and just, we want the most immersive maps you've ever made. And man, has he delivered. The Abomination Vaults maps are just astonishingly good. In addition, we've been working to make sure at every level that we're checking for the people who are trying to correct me on the pronunciation of Narky. I'm right. I have it on authority from the man himself. So, yeah, with regard to the actual content, the stuff that Narky has produced for Abomination Vaults is just a real cut above, and I'm really excited for when the community gets to see it. In addition, we partnered with Sirenscape through Paizo, and they've given us access to a whole host of audio files and permission to basically fill buckets from their audio library and run with it just as much as we can. I've been deep in the minds of Sirenscape's audio library for quite a while. I've also been down the token mines because Paizo shipped me a massive amount of art that I can use to help build these projects, which is what you're going to see a little bit later when we start showing off tokens and journal entries and stuff. And it's been awesome. So I want to be extremely clear right from the beginning. For all the work that I've been putting in, helping with just assembling art and putting audio together, I'm not the one doing the full content conversion. I'm doing little bits and pieces here and there and stuff that I have a skill set for specifically to help build that. We hired intelligently and chose carefully to drive these projects in a way that brings the best possible quality, and I can't put 70, 80, 160, 250 hours into organizing and writing and doing all the journal entry stuff that needs to be done and layout and map walling and lighting to the degree these projects need it, because I have other things that I do.
What?
So, we hired our guest to help our side of things with journal entries, with map layout, with the actual PF2E system, which, though I am much more familiar with now than I was 9 months ago, I've never played it. Not for a second, not. I haven't actually picked up a physical Pathfinder book ever.
Well, I think we should bring in our lovely guest then. Matt, if you could cue the fake applause. We have Cora, everybody. Cora, how you doing?
We have
Hello,
we
I'm
have fake
here.
applause.
Can chat hear me? Are they
No.
gonna yell at me?
We don't actually have fake applause. We gotta get that.
Save
I
Cora.
can't
Why
promise
we need
they
to
won't
save?
yell at you, but I can promise that they can hear you.
Okay, well, I mean, if they can hear me, I'll just keep talking forever. Hello, I'm here.
Cora, welcome to Hammering It Out. Who are you, and what's your background?
My background, oh, this is great. You'll find my background is very relevant and related to what I do here. My name is Vivian, but online I go by the handle Cora. Because that was my first D&D character's name, and all my friends called me that, and it stuck. I have a degree in archaeology and ancient history. I have a master's degree, and it's very relevant to tech and computers in the future, and art and make believe, and all of the things that I get to do in my job now. But on the bright side, I can tell when a tabletop RPG system has inaccurate statistics for the weapons that they use, and it makes me really unhappy. Studded leather armor is not a real thing. Remove it from your books, rub it out, tear out the page. It doesn't exist.
What should they replace it with?
Other credentials, I have played a lot of Pathfinder. That's it. That's my credential. That's what I put on my CV when I applied for the job. I said, Nath.
I played
I have
Pathfinder.
played so much Pathfinder. I don't know if that's what you meant, if you want me to get into that, my history of the system, because I can.
True story. The reason that Cora got hired is because she never shuts up about Pathfinder 2 during our weekly D&D game. So that's the reason.
How did you get started playing Pathfinder? Since that was all your CV said, just Pathfinder.
Yeah, it was just
yeah.
Well, I think like a lot of people, I had this. My first tabletop RPG was 5e, obviously, like everybody. It's obligatory. And I played it for years. I'm still very fond of the system. And I think like a lot of people, I had this image of what Pathfinder was, Pathfinder 1e, of this very rules-heavy and complicated and frightening thing. It's all true. I've played the video games, so I can now confirm 100% accurate. However, Paizo made a sort of a better game. I'm going to say it. Can I insult other systems? I love Pathfinder 1e's video games, but they made a second edition, and they took a lot of lessons from systems like 4e D&D that I think are a bit underappreciated. I think time has been kind to them, and people have looked back and thought actually they weren't as bad as everyone said. And I decided to give 2e a shot, and I'm really glad I did, because it breathed a lot of new life into my tabletop group, and we started playing weekly. We picked up Age of Ashes. It was the first AP they released. Played that, finished it in a year. I played in Abomination Vaults. One of my friends GM'd because of PDF to Foundry, actually. And now I'm running Strength of Thousands. So I have a pretty good sort of spread of experience with the system's adventure paths, which is, very useful when you're converting one that you've actually played. I'm not boiled anymore on it. And Pathfinder 2 is also what got me into Foundry. Because when I picked up the system, I was looking at the VTTs. I'd never heard of Foundry. And everywhere I looked, on Reddit and on all these websites, everybody was saying it's the best VTT for PF2E. It's Foundry. And I thought, it can't be that good, but I'll check it out. I watched one video, some like V5 release stream from Andrew, where he was showing off colored lights. Those colored lights blew my mind. Yeah, I've never
Always the
looked
lighting
back.
engine.
It is, yeah, it's so fancy. And yeah, I picked up Foundry that day, and it was about 2 years ago now. And all my games have been on it since.
And you are a moderator now in our community, so at some point,
Yeah, I got tricked. I got taken advantage of a little bit.
Mm.
It seems. Uh, I'm not. I don't have a background in tech, but I grew up playing video games. I know how computers work, and so when I saw people with really simple problems on the Discord server, I would try and help them. The Foundry Discord, I'm sure everybody watching is on it. It's a support forum for the software, and I, like everyone else, I came there because I didn't understand how Foundry worked. I needed help with port forwarding. But I could help other people too, and when it was simple stuff like checking if you have WebGL enabled. And I did that for a little while, and Nath just changed my name color on the server once. And then he did it another time. I went up through the ranks. It's purple, and then it was orange. And then now suddenly people say that I can't be rude to people anymore. But I'm pretty sure I get away with it.
Generally, you're not supposed to be rude to people regardless of your color, as I believe the community rules. But I think you would actually know better than me on that one.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow,
Actually,
Cody. Wow.
I can actually ban Cody, I'm pretty sure.
Probably. Please don't. I'd enjoy being
Well,
part of the
you're
community.
working on V10. You're fixing journals for me, so I need you
No,
to say.
actually, that's Kim. So.
Oh, okay, so you're out. All right.
Yeah. Under the bus I go. All right.
I actually remember the moment Cora entered into my radar for watching for community helper status. And amusingly, it's related to a conversation in Pathfinder 2E, where the PF2E channel was having a heated discussion about, I think it was Agents of Edgewatch or something like that, during a time when it was like a controversial discussion. And waiting in, I was coming to moderate, and here's this random user just like making all the points that I was about to make before I could get there. And I'm going, okay, so number one, I'm going to drop a DM to this person and thank them for picking this fight and settling it. Number two, I'm going to just write a little name on my list here, because when the time comes to add more community helpers and bump some people up, they're top of the list now. And I think it's probably one of the better decisions.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Yeah. People being dumb. And I mean, if someone's wrong on the internet, you can't just let it slide. You have to tell them how wrong they are. So,
in the tradition of the internet, I can't sleep because someone might be wrong on the internet.
Yeah.
And you've been doing such a great job of it, Cora. So thank you for all of your time and dedication there.
Thank you.
At some point between playing Pathfinder a bunch and hanging in the community a bunch, you got involved in helping the development team for Pathfinder on Foundry and are also now part of the steering committee. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so this is another one where I sort of accidentally fell into this position. Basically, I don't have a background in programming. I don't know very much about code, although I've learned a lot about software since, being involved in this community. And because of that, I really wanted to help the system because the volunteer devs, it's a completely volunteer system. All of the developers are volunteers. No one's getting paid. If you try and pay them, they say, give the money to a homeless shelter instead. We don't want it. And it's wonderful. But I couldn't help, and I wanted to. So, one of the things I could do was, as a mod, I could be very active in the channel and help people who are lost or confused. I could help with really small, simple issues if I understood them. And I could do some data entry. I've only done a little bit. Most people that are involved in data entry have done more than me, I would imagine. But, all of this data, we're allowed to include it in the system because of Paizo's extremely generous license, and it's a huge boon to the system, and someone has to enter it into it and, help out when you can. And I think because of all of these different things, and I was talking to the devs, and they're all really nice people, so of course I like them and they like me. We got pretty. I don't know. I guess I became a bit of a recognized face, and when we decided to spin off our own Discord server, basically we were the most active channel on the entire Foundry Discord. We only had one little channel, and we were getting twice as many posts as the second largest one, which was an all-purpose troubleshooting channel. Ours was like only for like our system, and we were way too. There were too many people. It was so crowded. So what we did is, and I took the initiative on this, is we spun off our own Discord server. And as the one that created it, I have the power to ban anyone, which means that I am in charge of the system and it's mine.
Okay. Yep.
And we have dev channels in there for the devs to talk. They have like 8 channels they can talk in. We've got a channel for every adventure path where people can talk about their adventure path and exchange advice and maps and things, resources for their games. And it's actually really incredible. I mean, it's a lovely space. Everyone's really nice. It's a little bit hidden, a little bit elitist. Join it. It's in my Twitter bio. It's pinned, I think, in one of the channels in Foundry. Now they'll find it for you.
What's your Twitter if people want to follow you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I have. Do I have? I think I have a Twitter. I don't post anything. I made one to retweet the announcement. That's it. Anyway, so because I was in this position where I was creating all the channels, creating the roles, talking to all the devs, I love these boys. I love these programmers. They're very precious to me, but they want to code. They don't want to they don't want hassle, So I was like, well, I'll fetch them the coffees. I'll get everything set up for them. And when people are mean to them, I'll tell them off and I'll ban them. Which we haven't had to do. And in exchange, they can just code and they can give me features for my system. And what ended up happening is when we began formalizing our structure and making a bit of a proper, there are so many of the devs, we had to formalize a bit of a structure and a bit of a sort of hierarchy just so that we could prioritize our pushes. And when we formed our steering committee, we had the programming leads, we had the data entry leads, and Timon, the project director, I call him Tim because I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce his username.
You just pronounced it correctly.
Timoon. He made me, I think it was community manager or something, which was very sweet of him. And it's earned because I can delete the server at any time, and they are all at my mercy. So I have leverage.
So with that in mind, I think we've got a fairly good view into what you've been doing as part of the Pathfinder community, and certainly as part of our Discord. What would you say your role is in the actual content conversion?
Oh, that's easy. So if you think about what Foundry is as a company, it's like 6 people, but they're pretty much all code brains. It's what I was saying before, right? They're all like the code. They want to code. Cody wants to code. Is he on this side? Is it flip? Is he up there? There's a delay, so I'm just going to point in every direction and just pretend I pointed at Cody. Right. They don't want to deal with like reading a book. What are words? Lame. I have a master's degree. I can read a book. Okay, I've read a book or 2 in my time.
Just a few.
I can also do the grunt work. Just like with the system, I can't code, but I can do grunt work. So most of what I've been doing, actually like 90% of my time, has been formatting the journals. Nath gave me some CSS classes, and I've been doing all the HTML. So if we do it, I think we're doing a demo later. When we do the demo later, you'll see some of my work, but it's all placeholder. Don't judge me too harshly. Other stuff I've been doing is making spreadsheets. I love making spreadsheets. It makes me feel in control of this sort of terrible tornado that we call life. I can organize things and put them in their place. So I make spreadsheets. This morning I made a spreadsheet. I have a list of every creature in the adventure, and I have a list of their ID in the system, and then I have a list of all of their names of the files for their tokens. So when they make a program, it can be like, give this token to this guy. It's great. Spreadsheets. That's what I do. Journals and spreadsheets. anything Nathan needs me to do. Lights, I wall the maps, all the easy, boring stuff, and I love it.
File data organization, pointing out
Yeah.
when I'm missing art, catching all my
I
mistakes.
complained to you about the CSS, and you're like, please, I need to sleep. It's 2 a.m. And I'm like, no. You will
It makes
fix
you
the
feel better.
margins on the image tags.
I also complained to him about CSS, and he helps me too. So
For those wondering, while I'm handling some of the CSS organization, we're also getting influence from, of course, Andrew, who is top oversight of all Foundry related projects. But when it comes to there's a lot of CSS and JavaScript stuff that will surprise no one for me to say I don't know. So when I run into those situations, I reach out to the boss and go, please help me. Whereas over on the Sigil front, they've hired a different community member, some of you may know by the name of Zeal, and his work looks... I'm like a 8 out of 10. Zeal's work is like an 11 out of 10.
Feels really the
jealous.
narky of CSS.
He is the narky maps of CSS. So really looking forward to seeing the community reaction to the Outlaws content.
Have they seen them yet?
I think they may have seen some in screenshots.
Okay.
We'll do a demo soon.
I didn't work on those, so they're not very good. But
okay.
They did their best.
Yeah, they did the best they could without you, of course.
Yeah.
I have been seeing a lot of people just like, long live Cora, praise to Cora. Have you become a small deity in your sphere? Can people pray to you?
Yes, and the reason is I will ban them if they don't.
But you've had to ban 0 people, you said.
No, Sepp has been banned 9 times. He's just not currently banned.
Okay.
Because I'm merciful. So I need to explain this. We have a karmic system in play. Anyone who's in the server right now, actually, what we're going to do is you have to go to the pet tax channel and post a picture of an opossum. If you don't, I'll ban you. So just do that right now. Like, drop whatever you're doing and give me an opossum, please.
All right.
I'm serious. Let me see. Who's first alphabetically?
I'm just going to urgently press the panic button over here.
Yeah, is this what it's like to interview like
anathema
a dictator?
Oh, we've got some flowing in. These are some people who won't be banned. Naki, good. We would have been bad if we banned him. Yeah. Oh, these are so good.
Oh my god. Let's see if we can get this meeting back on the rails.
I feel like it's going in a great direction.
This is our best hammering it out yet. What are you talking about?
Cody, I'm too sober for this.
You had your chance.
Right. So with all of that, what is it like taking a project on the scale of Abomination Vaults, which for those out there who don't already know, it's this massive 10 plus level mega dungeon with a full featured town associated with it. What's it like taking a project like that and converting it for virtual tabletop use?
It's quite exciting, I think. Of course, we're doing the beginner box as well. It's a taster of things. You can try things out and see which workflows are best, but scaling it up to Abomination Vaults is very interesting as well. I'm actually quite glad that we started with Abomination Vaults. I genuinely think it's the best 2E adventure released yet. I mean, it's a masterclass. It's so good. But I've also played it, so I'm very fond of it for that reason. And I think in some ways it does lend itself well to a conversion because it's got each floor is a level, each character level is a level of the dungeon, so it lines up very well. It's easy to partition the content and go, okay, chapter 1 is floor 1, chapter 2 is floor 2, and I think it's like we're taking an easy one to start with. In terms of the size, it is massive. We're adapting the hardcover, which has some slight changes to the order that things are listed in. You get some info sooner and later, but it is still 3 books worth of content. And the later APs, if we do end up doing any others, they might be 6. So we're working really hard on developing tools that can be scaled up to work with any adventure. So I was talking about spreadsheets. When I have a workflow with a spreadsheet, when I'm changing tasks from one adventure to another, I can just use the same spreadsheet automation and just change the data in it. And we were talking about CSS, NAS CSS. We can just use it again, and we change the font or whatever to match the theme of that adventure. But the broad strokes will apply in anything. Like all Paizo APs have read aloud text describing what a room looks like, right? And I think that in a lot of ways it's going to get easier the sooner we go, but it's a very exciting task to tackle. And I'm really hoping that we get the beginner box done in a way that I don't end up just feeling like, oh, I wish we could have had time to do that. We've got to cut in close a bit, but hopefully people enjoy it and they buy it and they have a great time. If you haven't played Abomination Vaults, I am genuinely telling you, it's so good. It's such a good adventure. But don't play it right now. Play it when you can give us money to play it, obviously.
So, with the degree of quality that we're pushing, I mean, way back, before this was even on the menu, I recall asking publicly if I was going to get an adventure path from Paizo for my own use in my own role-playing game, which one would I grab? Abomination Vaults was the one that you told me. Abomination Vaults is the one that Tim told me. I have heard nothing but Abomination Vaults as a recommendation for the first jump into a full adventure path for Pathfinder.
And the thing is, all of the Paizo APs, and I don't work for Paizo, so this is true. They're all great, all of them, except Agents of Edwatch. But all of them are great. And Age of Ashes, the first one I ran, everyone says it's terrible because they're comparing it to the best ones, but it's still really good. Abomination Vaults is just like another level above. And as an introduction to Pathfinder, I don't think you can go wrong with it, because the beginner box, as I'm sure everybody knows, the Pathfinder beginner box is set in a town called Atari. And Atari is also the setting of Abomination Vaults, and it's a 1 to 11 adventure. So you can jump right in. You can do the beginner box, learn the rules, and jump right into Abomination Vaults. And there's really no better way to start off with the system. And so the fact that those are the 2 first pieces of content that we're releasing, I couldn't have, if I could choose anything, I wouldn't have chosen anything else. I wouldn't even have chosen Rise of the Rune Lords over Beginner Box and Abomination Vaults as our first project, because I think it's just that good of an intro. It's the best one for us to have to show people.
The story of the beginner box leads straight into Abomination Vaults then?
It's done quite well, so you don't have to do it. You're not missing anything, but they're set in the same town and there are some connective threads. Okay. Abomination Vaults is a really fun sort of local story. You don't go traveling around the universe. You stay in your small town. It ends at level 11, and so anything set in the town is affected by what's going on over the course of the adventure. And if you read Menace Under Otari, a lot of the events in the history of that adventure or the present of that adventure are directly related to things that are happening in the Gauntlight Keep up the hill, in the swamp, in the forest. And that's one of the fun things about Paizo Adventures, is they're all in the same world, and it's a very deep world with a long history in universe. So if you play Abomination Vaults, then when your GM foolishly tries to run Agents of Edwatch, which is set in the next city over, you might hear about what happened to your previous adventuring party. They might be well-known local heroes or something, and that's quite fun as well.
You keep slagging off Agents of Edgewatch, but I feel like I've read a bit about it, and I feel like I could do it justice. I think it's something that requires a lot of finesse given its subject matter, but I think you could totally run a really good Agents of Edgewatch game.
I think with the right GM, it could be awesome. I love the Victorian sort of slightly, gothic aesthetics, the foggy streets, and the investigate, Sherlock Holmes vibes. You can play an investigator. I love all that stuff. I tease it because they're all so good. One of them has to be the worst. But it's like how Dark Souls 2 is the worst Soulsborne game, It's still fine. It's just the worst one. Don't at me. Yeah.
So, I think in a little bit here, we're going to have Matt bring up a kind of sneak preview for the audience of the work we've been doing on Beginner Box to try and really showcase some of the things that we're working towards, and people will see, of course, that the stuff that was in the trailer has changed even since then.
There it is.
Yeah, it looks like we're here.
They can see. Oh, shame.
Yeah, it's all out there it's all out there for everyone to see now. So
am I giving them a guided tour?
Why don't you show them, because you've been doing kind of the lion's share of the work on this particular adventure.
I don't know if I'd say that.
Why don't you showcase some of the things that you find most interesting, that people will be most surprised by, that will get the most attention, that kind of thing. Some of your favorites.
Okay, if I could feed another thought.
Go ahead.
People tend to ask, why should I buy a digital conversion of something I already own? So if you could point out things that they're getting as part of this conversion.
Oh, that's easy. Okay, so I'll start there. Why would you buy this if you already have the PDF? I'll tell you why. If you already own the PDF, price off up this discounted. Done.
Nice. How much?
I don't know. We don't have a price. I'm not allowed to say. It's not my job. I don't work for Foundry. I'm an independent contractor.
On pricing, the Beginner Box price hasn't been formalized yet. We're still trying to decide where best to place the price in order to get people's attention while still making it possible to pay good people a living wage.
The market price hasn't been placed, but if you DM me like 50 bitcoins, I will give you it right now. If you give me 50 bitcoins. But yeah, so okay, so yeah, there's a little discount. You get the entire. Is it the entire cost of the PDF off the purchase price?
Yep.
So I mean, there's no like sunk cost fears, right? Like you'll get. It's just extra. It's just a bonus. So what is that bonus? Okay, well, Matt, let's show them the original map for the first floor. This is the map that you get out of the PDF. It's the map that you get on, any other service that you buy this adventure from, and it's lovely. It's actually, I genuinely think, one of Paizo's best maps that they've made in a long time. It's really nice, and we've got it lit up, we've got it walled, we've got all the tokens down, ready to go. This is the sort of the classic experience with the original map. But what you're only getting on Foundry, and is the most obvious and most flashy and attractive thing, is if Matt was to click over to our Floor 1 map, our remade Naki Maps branded one, and yes, it is Naki, you fools. So disappointed in you. It's a little bit different. So if we zoom in, my favorite room on this floor is top right, the tomb. I love this one, and this has some really fun stuff on it. So there were two elements to Cody's question. There was, what are you getting that you don't already get from the PDF? I think, you guys can see these maps are gorgeous. They're incredible. They're beautiful. You're also getting tokens. I'm going to move out a little skeleton guard for you. Look at this. Look at this good boy. Where's the zombie? This is spoilers, by the way. No Yeah, no, it's the beginning boss. Oh, he doesn't have a token. Hide him! Hide him! Nath, where's the zombie token?
As I indicated at the beginning of this, it is still a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Actually, I think I can fix this one. I think the token is like called something else right now. Hang on.
Let's not fix on live game. It's fine.
Okay, so yeah, so you've got these beautiful tokens that maybe Matt can zoom in on. If you look at the character artwork for the creatures, if I do show players, you've got all the art interlinked. So everything is set up using the digital medium in a way that even a PDF doesn't, but a print book could never do. You can click on things. I'll get into that more with journals. But one of the cool ways that the VTT enables play is if, for example, you had a player character that was adventuring in this room, and they thought, hey, that blue glow, that's really cool. What is that? That's an ever-burning torch. There's an ever-burning torch that glows blue in this room. And if you look in the loot sheet, there's the ever-burning torch is in there, so the players can loot that, and that torch glows blue. I made it glow blue, baby. So it's not red. It's not a normal one. Glows blue. It's the exact same animation as the light in the room. So it really is, using the digital media. I know, right? I mean, who cares about this stuff? Apparently me. If we go to floor 2, the remake, my favorite room in the entire dungeon, I'm skipping right to it. It has a rat in it, which possums are big rats, so it's good. And the rat is also on fire, which is he likes it, so it's okay. And this room's really cool. I don't know if Matt can. I love doing the lights in this room. So there's these 3 orbs that are set up like with the elemental energies, and Foundry's lighting engine is so good. So I've got the fire orb as this pulsing ember in a little glass bubble, and I've got the wind orb where I've got this swirling energy, and it looks, because of the lighting options, it looks like it's under the glass. You can see like the swirling underneath. And then the earth one is like this molten core that's glowing. I love this room, and I love that Foundry lets me do this. And these lights work with the rules of the Pathfinder system. If you have a character with low light vision or dark vision, the light levels are all being upgraded appropriately. Everything is working with the rules so that your GM doesn't have to worry about it. It's all done for them. Another thing that saves some effort for your GM is how we have all these journals set up, and the journals are quite fun. Again, this is something that you can only do online. They're like the text from the PDF, but they're interlinked. So they'll have little buttons where it's like click here, like on Wikipedia, and it makes browsing the journals quite an interesting experience. So I'm going to show you my favorite one. This is the Atari Gazetteer journal. I guess we should go back to the landing page, but who cares? So I don't know if Matt. I don't know. There's a stream delay. Yeah. So I love this one. It's got the picture, same one as the landing page, but Nath did some wizardry, and it's got this glorious sepia toned. This is canon, by the way. There are cameras in Pathfinder 2e. They're in the Guns and Gears book. They're called Light Writers or something. They're canon. So this is completely rules as written. Don't at me, Paizo. And it's lovely. We can be so evocative. We can include the art in multiple ways. You can show your players the original. You don't have to use our dumb sepia one. But we can build an atmosphere and make it really enjoyable to read. And we've got these cool-out boxes at the bottom of that entry, which has some advice that we write. This isn't Paizo that wrote this, obviously. And so because we wrote it and we added it, it's in this little box that's got like a Foundry logo in the corner, so that you can tell that we added this. And it's an explanation on how to use the adventure in Foundry. And we talked about how, it's a tutorial for Pathfinder, but now it's also a tutorial for Foundry. If you've got a player in your group, if you're sick of running and you've got a player that you wanna throw all the work onto them, you buy them this. They'll learn. They have no choice. It's got everything they need. They have to run for you. That's how it works. If you're like, oh, I do want to use Atari, you can click Atari locations in the little chat block, And you'll be like, yeah, these are the locations. Oh wow, I want to know about the landmarks. And you can click on landmarks. It's glorious. It's gorgeous. It's amazing.
And of
I'm
course,
really proud of it.
because it's featured in Abomination Vaults as well, a lot of these locations are duplicated over, right? Like, it's just the same text. We haven't changed anything. There's no expansion of the text for Abomination Vaults compared to Beginner Box.
Well, we haven't changed the text, but the version of Atari, the text, the descriptions in the beginner box is a sort of a simplified version. It's like a light version. It's easy to use quickly and on the fly if you want to improvise things. But the version in Abomination Vaults, it's got a bit more detail. So if you are planning on moving into Abomination Vaults later, you'll find that a one level, 2-level dungeon, you don't need very much info on the local town. But if you're running 11 levels, you might want a bit more, and we have all of those adapted as well.
And I kind of led that question intentionally. It's because of the expanded info. Of course, they have an expanded journal entry system for Abomination Vaults. We've gone to great lengths to make sure that we're documenting and laying it out in a way that a strong GM can really drive up and make the town of Atari feel alive.
Yeah, and you can expand on all of this. If in your version of the game, there's another shop, you can just add it. You can seamlessly put it in there. And that's with a PDF, what are you going to do? You're going to write on it. In here, you can just click edit and change the text. If you want to rename an NPC because you think their name is dumb, you can do that. And I think we're giving a lot of control to GMs with something like this because it's so modular. The beginner box is very modular because there's all these different elements to it, and you can just pick out which ones you want to use. You could delete the entire Menace Under Atari adventure from the beginner box and just use it for the rules, for the rules reference handouts and things like that, and it'd be fine. You'd be foolish though. It's a good adventure.
So in a moment, I'm going to show. I'm going to show a journal entry to highlight how we're looking at encounters and that sort of thing for instruction. And of course, none of this is final. This is all stuff that is still work in progress that we're polishing up for the release next week, late next week. But I'd like Matt to scroll down when this appears and just demonstrate the encounter boxes and that kind of thing.
More rats.
Kind of
This is a good
interlinking.
adventure.
So because we have access to like a bunch of the above the PDF, the actual publishing quality files, we've been able to include stuff like the branding and logos and icons that Paizo uses themselves. So we're incorporating that in a way we feel is really strong, and which gets your attention and keeps your attention focused on it as a GM if you're going to run this encounter. And of course, because this is occurring in the Pathfinder 2e system, we want to make sure that these instructions don't just use the book where the book might say, take your printed pawn with its plastic stand and put it on the table. We're guiding people on how to use the tokens, on how to interact with the roll system through PF2E and that kind of thing, because it's one thing to have access to the system, and it's quite another to be able to say, here's how to use it to really get the most out of Foundry Virtual Tabletop for this content. What would you say your favorite part of the conversion has been so far?
That's a tricky one. I think, spreadsheets, let me tell you, they're a good time. But I think picking out the art was really fun. Because, of course, a lot of creatures have, canon art, like Skeleton Guard, right? he has a picture as a skeleton. It's always that guy. But there are a lot of characters that didn't have artwork, and I had to go digging, and, we had to make some really fun creative decisions, Nath and I, about how to give art to every character, because that was something we really wanted to make sure would happen. We didn't want you to have any characters where their token is just blank. It's just white or a letter. We didn't want a major NPC like a shopkeeper that just is never pictured and you have to go find your own picture on Google. You can still do that, but we wanted it to be a complete experience, like out of the box. And Paizo worked with us, and they've been really, really good to us on this. And they've been letting us pull art from PF1E, from other adventures, from other creatures, and sort of tweak it. Nat's done some photoshopping. And it's been so fun to cobble together and see like the spreadsheet fill out. I'm back to spreadsheets. See it fill out, with the little green tick that everything has a picture found, a picture assigned. Oh, are you putting some out? I've always loved the Kobold Trapmaster, the blue kobold. That's one of my favorite pieces of art in Pathfinder 2e. I love that little guy.
Really like how the dragon is escaping his token.
Oh
That
yeah,
really adds
he loves doing this trick. So this is actually really easy to do. In the token, if it's set to size 1 by 1, normally what will happen is the token will entirely fit inside the grid square, so you'd have the wings hit the edge. But if you make the scale 150%, you can have the wings extend out, but it's still a 5 by 5 creature. So if you hover over it, the box is the right size. It's not an issue for flanking, or because flanking's automated. Collision. It's a creature of this size, but the art spills out. And so for some of the bigger creatures for the boss fights, Nath loves doing this, and it always looks awesome. Nath's tokens are such a joy to see. And my favorites, unfortunately, are both in Abomination Vaults, but they're the Slurk and the Gibbering Mouther. That he outdid himself. They're incredible. It's so much fun seeing. I love the art of this game. I love the kobold designs with the cute little flat heads. They're adorable.
I will confess, my understanding of the expanded scale of tokens to go outside the bounding box wholly owed to Andrew. It's something that I wouldn't have been aware of for quite some time without him, I think. And comes from his work with the oversized tokens for top-down tokens in the D&D 5e system. Probably existed before that, but that's where I came into knowing about it. I will comment that I'm thankful for the praise of the community on the tokens. I like to think they're good. I think there are some that are better than others. I'm going to disappoint some people and say that we are not targeting and have no plans to target top-down tokens for Pathfinder 2e. The reality is there's over 2,000 creatures in the Pathfinder system. Getting top-down tokens for all of them would be a monumental effort, well above and beyond what we could even fathom providing. We need a team of artists hired to focus just on that.
The advantage of using these pogs is we can use the existing and canon art of the creature. And maybe I'm not really a top-down person anyway. I think even if I was, it's just not possible. But I think that I've always quite liked how you can see the art in a POG. I love the art for this game. So I'm very happy that, that we get to see it.
Yeah, that style of token has a lot of benefits of showing you their body and what clothing
and
they
facial
like
expression.
wearing.
And also it's easier to extend. If a GM wants to add a new creature, they can just, get one off Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't have to. You can turn any piece of art into a POG. You can't do that with top downs. And some people have the skills to kit bash, and it's fun, but not everyone does. And I think that this is a great place for the system to be.
I'll also add, it has been a lot of fun getting the tokens together. Cora made some excellent selections on art for ones that were missing. we've had some great help from the crew over at Paizo, who've been very generous in fulfilling pretty much any request for art that we've needed. I've sent them stuff like, I need a pale, bald woman who looks like she was held prisoner,
And she's missing one arm.
and gotten an answer in like a day with a selection of 5 different options. Just the amount of effort being put in on all sides from this, especially with I'll also shout out the PF2E development community, who've been fantastic at hearing my late night and early morning rants about random parts of the system that I've just encountered for the first time and have no idea how to use. And the effort of the development community, especially T-Mon, at pushing this forward has been monumental. But yeah, the tokens, it's probably a little bit of a brag, but I'm really proud of the way the tokens are coming out, and I hope that everyone will enjoy them.
I think they're incredible.
Our
And
goal
I'm allowed to say that because I didn't make them.
Our goal has been from the beginning to provide this content in a way it can't be experienced anywhere else. So, emphasizing the maps, the tokens, the journal entries interlinked, using all of the PF2E subsystems, like, for those unaware, there's a @check, which allows you to trigger
See if I can
this,
find
like, this role dialogue that actually incorporates the data from the creature that it references, or @template, which lets you drop a template on the map for like a dragon's breath weapon immediately.
Matt, I'm showing you the one of the ones. If you scroll down to the encounter section, it has some @check buttons. You can show off the template one, the 30-foot cone, maybe. I don't know if it works on gridless maps. Maybe I shouldn't.
It should.
But yeah, so this is,
doesn't.
you know,
It
these
does.
buttons do work. You can click on the cone button. You get a little cone, comes right out. This is actually repeated information from the creature stat block, so it might not stay in the journal. We might remove it. But we start off putting in all the text. We don't delete anything until afterwards. There's another thing Matt can show off, which is so all of these boxes that have a little chat message icon pop-up thing next to them, if you click that button, little message icon, so for example, DC 24 basic reflex save, there's a post to chat option. You know, you have to click on, okay, he rolled one. You have to click on the message, like, oh, actually, I can do it. I'm a GM. Hell yeah. Sorry, probably shouldn't. Yeah, so that sends the button to chat without sending the entire journal. So if you're the GM running this adventure and you've got to defuse a trap or pick a lock, you can click the button for the skill check. It'll send to chat, and your players can click the button to roll their save or their check. And because the button knows what it is, it knows it's a lockpicking check. Any bonuses that only apply to lockpicking will still get applied automatically. The system knows it's like, yeah, you're picking a lock, get your +1. And just, it's such a streamlined experience. We can, talk about it forever, but if you want to think about the differences between physical play and online play, digital play, I think that's a really big one, is that with a system like PF2E, a VTT that can abstract away a lot of the maths and hold your hand. If you suck at maths like me, if you need emotional support, Foundry is there for you, and the PF2E system devs, they've done the work. It's all there, and that's really invaluable.
One last thing that I'll point out is, though we are sending the maps out with the tokens in place for any encounters that might need to be run or that kind of thing, we're also ensuring that when you have these encounter shoutouts in a journal entry, we're encapsulating the actors for the encounter in case you're a GM with like the accidental button push where you brush over a token and hit the delete button by accident and just wipe out the encounter. you can quickly replace it by just pulling the actor straight out of the journal, right onto the canvas, put it in place, job done. So you don't have to go digging and searching for where the actor's stored in folders, which we've also organized.
So you guys have done really incredible journals that help people new to Foundry and Pathfinder with some really cool features and linking. You've done HD map remakes, you've done overhead tiles, you've done HD tokens. That's not all from what I understand. There's also an audio component.
So we don't have any audio to show off today. I've been, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, deep in the mines of Sirenscape, harvesting a lot of sound effects, a lot of music, trying to bring an immersive sound experience without being too distracting. I have ADHD, I'm medicated for it. I find there's a key balance to walk when dealing with sound, that you want it to complement a role-playing session. You don't want it to override your role-playing session. So you don't want the sound levels to blow players away when they sit down and are trying to communicate with each other. But you also don't want dead silence. So finding that middle ground is something that is very important to me, and something that we've been working on. I think in the end it's going to be fantastic. I think we may be running on time. We should probably take some questions from the community by now.
Yeah, if you would like to ask Cora or Nath questions about the Paizo partnership, I'm sure I've already seen a lot of those, or ask Cora questions about herself, or ask Cora questions about do lanterns that hang off of a hook on the front of a shield make historical sense? Go ahead and drop them in chat. Put question in brackets in front, so we can easily find them.
I have gecko and possum facts. If anyone,
yeah. If you want to ask questions about geckos, such as how many species of geckos are there, what are their preferred climates,
arid,
a 200-page essay on why are they always smiling.
It's how their faces, bone structure. It's really cute.
Okay. One last question while we let those pour in, which they already are. This is just a start. This is just the start of Paizo content. If there was one thing you could do, Cora, any of their products, no limits, no priority but yours, as the overlord and deity of Pathfinder 2e, what would you do next?
I like this hypothetical.
This reality?
This is a very difficult question. I think in terms of what's best for the community, I would have picked Beginner Box and AV. So with that out the way, I can pick for myself now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are three things that come to mind, so I'm just going to answer all three in rapid succession. I've always wanted to play Rise of the Rune Lords. It's classic. It's the original OG Pathfinder 1e. There's no official 2e port, but this is make-believe. So I would adapt a 2e port of Rise of the Rune Lords. The other one is a different product, non-AP. I would love to do token packs. I like picking the art. I think it would be amazing. I hope we get to do it. I know everyone wants it. And the last answer is the next AP I hope I get to work on. Every new AP that comes out is my favorite when it's announced. But I have to say Bloodlords is really interesting to me. It's this sort of gothic, you're playing as undead in Geb, which is a city of there's no humans, everyone's a zombie or a skeleton or a vampire, and you're playing as undead, so it's timed with the Book of the Dead release. I would love to adapt that one. It sounds really unique, it sounds really interesting. But honestly, I couldn't choose anything. It's so much fun to work on these.
One question I've already seen a lot, so I'm just going to summarize and ask this one. What does this mean for Pathfinder 1e and Starfinder?
Okay, so that's more of a question for me. So I'll take that one. Straight out of our frequently asked questions, I think we actually talk about basically the Pathfinder 1e and the Starfinder communities, and we want, ideally, to be able to bring the same level of quality that we're bringing for Pathfinder 2e content to their systems as well. It's certainly covered under our license, and there's a lot of really top quality and interesting content there. However, it needs to be balanced against the fact that we're a small team and we can only work on so much at once. And with the focus being on Pathfinder currently, it makes sense to produce as much Pathfinder 2e content as we can. Now, that's not to say that we're never going to do any Pathfinder 1 or Starfinder content, but our decision-making process on that needs to be informed by current resources and what we would feel comfortable committing to. Because I don't think anyone would want us to commit to bringing content for Pathfinder 1 or Starfinder and have it be less quality than what we're doing for Pathfinder 2. There are people that have tried to argue to me that it would be just fine to release a one-to-one PDF conversion for Pathfinder 1e and 2e, but I can't do that. I wouldn't be able to sign my name to a paid product that is literally just a one-to-one PDF conversion. I want and we want, I think. And I believe the community would agree with me. We want to bring something that is truly a cut above for our products. And I'm sorry, but $50 for a one-to-one PDF conversion that doesn't use the features of our software, that's just not in the realm of something that I'd want to sell.
I think that's very fair. Another question, this one for Astro. Any chance of a subscription for this? I'll tack on, how does this relate to the current subscription that Paizo offers?
Right. This is a quicker one than the last one. As far as I'm aware, if you have a subscription, you have access to the PDF, which I'm not going to say 100% for certain you will get the PDF discount there. That's something that the guys at Paizo would have to answer directly.
I think they confirmed it the other day that subscription PDFs do count for the discount.
Cool. For a subscription for our content, there's nothing in the works currently that I'm aware of. Stay tuned. That's really the best answer I can give.
Or Cora, Bajark the Bard asks, what's your favorite gecko species?
Oh, easy. Leopard, African fat tail, morning gecko. Those three. Top three in that order.
All right. That was really fast.
Yeah, I have top three favorite leopard geckos.
Infinite Sky 22 asks, how many species of gecko are there?
14.
Okay. Another fast one. Anchor 89 asks, will there be a Kingmaker 2E module for Foundry?
Can I answer just like all the questions? Will there be X? We can't no, we don't know yet. You know, like it's all of them. It's all that we would.
Well,
love
there
to
you go. We'll bulk answer. We'll bulk answer all of them with maybe, probably.
Yeah. Kingmaker
if
is
Cora can, yes.
Because I think it's being published by Legendary Games, not Paizo. But you know, if it was possible and we had the time, I think Nath and I would love to do it. I think we'd love to do it all of it.
I don't know. Kingmaker is.
It is
probably the most sandbox adventure that Paizo has, and while I love the idea of making a truly sandbox adventure in Foundry, it would be a enormous effort.
It would.
I think
the video game's quite good, by the way.
I think it would be a very ambitious project.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to scroll back a little bit in chat because I know there were some questions asked earlier that I'd like to see addressed. Um, Maybe while I'm doing that, Cody, you can ask Cora some system-oriented questions.
If geckos were a playable ancestry, what would their stats be?
Yeah, lizard folk are already in the system. They have a feat that you can take called parthenogenesis. This is something real-life geckos can do. It's when they don't reproduce sexually. That's a full female species with no males, and they just clone, like they give birth to their genetic clones. And what's really cool about it is that even though they don't have sexual reproduction, these geckos will still copulate. They will still mate. So it's an all lesbian species, and they psychologically it triggers the egg production if they have fun times with other lizards. So that is how you play a gecko in Pathfinder 2e. You're welcome.
I would just like to note, every single one of these questions, there have been 0 milliseconds of hesitation or thought. You just have the answer.
Well, it's because these are questions that I have asked myself many times over the years. They're near and dear to my heart. You have to understand.
That's understandable. Did you find one, Neth?
Yes, so a while back, PPC Miranda asked if we list modules necessary to automate Pathfinder 2e mechanics for a newbie Foundry user. This is one that I think, Cora, you can probably take this one just fine.
Yeah, so if anyone is wondering, if they're new to the Pathfinder system and they're wondering which modules to use, I have an FAQ pinned in the Rules and Resources channel of our community Discord server, which you should join, because it's great. Post me a possum, or I'll ban you. And if you check that list, it's just 3 modules, because in my opinion, there are no obligatory modules except those 3, and they are Animal Companions by Tikael, PDF to Foundry, which is no longer being developed, but still works for all the older adventures, and the bestiaries, which is very important. And thirdly, it's Soup's Persistent Damage. And the reason is 2 of these fill in gaps in the rules that the system doesn't handle yet, and all 3 are programmed by members of the development team, so they're guaranteed high quality, they're guaranteed to keep working. And that's why they are the only 3 that I would recommend to everyone. There are a whole bunch of other modules, but with regards to automations especially, I don't think that there are any other modules that you need to play PF2E. I think from then, how you should be looking at modules is, oh, does this solve a problem that I noticed at my table? You know, like, oh, my table have some topics that we'd rather not approach. Let me install X card so someone has a little button they can click and I can steer off that topic. Or, oh, I like having pings. No one has to have pins, but some people really like pings, and you can install pings if you like pings. There is a module I made. It's terrible. Don't install it.
Or you'll be banned.
No, I won't ban you, but I will mine Bitcoin on your computer.
We would never approve a module that handles any kind of cryptocurrency mining.
Oh, Nath is very serious about this.
Another one is someone asked a while back, a couple of people, I think at this point, about token packs in the future and the bestiaries and whatnot. I think it's something that makes sense to do. I think it's something that the community has strongly told us they want. It's not a simple just make them and sell them. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered internally about how do we break up the current 2,000 plus creatures in a way that is palatable for sale. How do we decide, how do we decide to monetize it in a way that both pays the people who are going to be making the tokens and makes it a product that's still appetizing to the community? Because I'm personally not a fan of paying like $50 and $60, $70, $80 for a pack of like 50 or 100 tokens. I think it's something that price points need to be figured out on in a way that feels fair for the user, but also fair to the people doing the work. And it is a surprising amount of work to actually make tokens high quality. Anyone can throw them in a token stamp border ring and call it good, but you do need, if you want to provide a marketable tier, I feel like you need to focus on ways to make the token art pop, to make it more than just what something like PDF to Foundry can do using the existing PDF art. So for the amount of work going into it and the sheer volume of Pathfinder creatures, it's something that needs to be thought about very carefully. So yes, we want to do it. It's going to take some time and decision making.
Samir Abru, sorry if I mispronounced that, asks, are there plans to add suggestions or guidelines for those playing with extra players? For instance, a lot of things are written for 4. They'd like to play with 6.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question, because if you look at all adventure paths are balanced for 4 players exactly. It's just the standard, but there are tables you can use to readjust the encounters yourself. My group has 3 players, so I just remove some monsters, use some weak templates. In the beginner box, we didn't add this. This is already in there. There is actually this sort of advice. For example, in the first room, it says 1 rat per player. So if you've got 3 people, it's 3 rats. If you've got 6 people, it's 6 rats. So I think that there are situations where this is done. In the Pathfinder Society modules, which none of which we're working on at the moment, they do have these separate, like 3 versions of the same encounter thing. And I think really the answer is, looking at how that looks, I don't think we'll be adding it. I don't have the final say. If Nat tells me to do it, I'll do it. But I would say that we probably won't be. And the reason is bloat. It's a lot of information to put into a journal, and you don't want to just start having a whole bunch of stuff that people skip over and then they miss something important. But if there are small ways where Paizo or we can make it easier for people playing with non-standard group sizes, I think we will always try and take that possibility. How many have we got on the stream next week, Nath? Is it 5 players or?
I think we're still workshopping on whether or not we're going to go with 4 or go with 5.
Yeah, all that to say, we're not ignoring the other groups. We're not assuming that everybody does 4, but that's what it's balanced for, and we don't want to editorialize too much. So, yeah.
Balif asks, after the current release schedule, are there any hints on the next thing that you will work on?
I think we've got some things that I would love to do, but they're things that I shouldn't comment on because then the community will hold me to it.
That's fair. He also asks, will spell cards be ported to Foundry cards?
This is an interesting question, because spell cards are a real life, for those that don't know, they're a real life prop. You can buy them from Paizo, and it's a little deck, and every card, it has its rules and little pictures, and it's for players playing a spellcaster will buy the deck for their class. You buy the arcane spell list, and then you can flip through it and be like, yeah, I cast Fireball, and you play it down, and you can see what it does. I don't know what you would have them do in Foundry as cards, because spell cards are already obviously in the system as spells. If you open the character sheet of Ezran, the wizard, Matt, and you tab over to the 4th tab, the one that this little magic wand, the spellcasting tab, and you can click on the name of any of his spells, and it will expand it with the full description of the spell, all of the rules, the targeting rules, the range, the cast time, it's all on there. So I don't know what you would need the spell cards for. I think Foundry's card implementation is something Nath might be better at commenting on, but I don't think they're intended to be used as like a deck of rules reference documents. They're more for playing card games with, right? Or drawing a random, Taroka card or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like if someone asked you, "Are you going to port the initiative cards to this?" It's like, well,
Yeah,
no,
like
there's initiative already.
because there's no random element to the spell cards, so I don't really see how they would. It's one of those things where, although they're both called cards, I think the current implementation of spells in Foundry is basically ideal. I'm not sure what you would change, really.
I do see some people in chat talking about hero cards. I have a vague idea of what hero points are and what the
Hero
hero
point cards do make sense as cards. So how hero point? Okay, so hero points are a mechanic kind of like 5e's inspiration, if you remember that one. Essentially, when you fail a roll, or actually, whatever the result, you can do it if you succeed, but I don't know what you would. If you have a hero point, you can spend it to re-roll that check, but you keep the result that you end up with. So if you're me, what happens is you roll a natural 2 on your will save, you spend a hero point to re-roll it, and you get a natural 1. That's how they work. So they're useless. And they're a really important part of the system. They have other uses. You can spend them to stop dying. If you're about to die, you can spend one to save your life. Hero point cards are a variant rule for the system. Again, that's a physical prop you can buy, where instead of with the points, there's a bunch of different ways to use them, but they're cards with an effect on them, like your next attack deals double damage, or like you heal, and so you get dealt a card instead of spending the point, and then you spend the card for that effect. So they add a dynamic nature to hero points. They add some unpredictability. They sound really fun. I've never played with them, but they sound really fun. And they make complete sense as a card deck because they are dealt out to players. Players hold on to them, and then they play them, and they're random. So the reason that they're not in the system currently is I believe they're in as a roll table, but I'm not actually sure. But the reason they're not in as cards right now is very simple. It's a volunteer system and no one's done it. And to make them look pretty, you would need licensing permission from Paizo because we can use the rules text, but we can't use the pictures unless it's premium, official content. So that is one of the things that is on NAS's very long list of stuff, like token packs and the flip maps, where it's not an AP, but it's something that they could convert for Foundry that people would be able to use and that people would like to see. And all of these things sort of have to get weighed against one another. But I think that they could be cards. I think it'd be cool.
I can think of some ways that using the existing system,
Yeah,
a premium hero point card deck
so
approach.
they're
could
in
certainly
as a
work.
roll table right now. But as you can imagine, a roll table isn't quite as good because the point is you hold on to it until you want to spend it, and I think that's why using Foundry's card implementation could be quite cool. I'm gonna draw one right now just for fun, but okay.
I'm going to rephrase something Matt said as a question. Cora, when are you going to write a Thirsty Swords lesbian setting featuring geckos?
I do have a custom setting in which one of the playable ancestries are fire elementals that like little flamey lizard boys, and they grow forever, and they eat anything that is flammable, and the more they grow, the hungrier they get. But they're always really cute. But sometimes they rampage through the forests, devouring all of the trees, and all of the buildings, and all of the people in their path to fuel their voracious bellies. But sometimes they find a volcano and they like crawl in and they get a nap in the middle and they're like, oh, this is so cozy. I'm like safe. And they just stay there for all eternity. They get so fat, so good. Fat lizards, do it in your game. Do it right
Do you
now.
have a Patreon I can subscribe to for this content?
No, but send me bitcoins.
All right. Will there, Unbound Lopez asks, will there be a trial or demo for this content, or do you just have to buy it and hope?
So there's licensing issues with that, right? Because it's paid content. We can't give it to you for free, right? Like, we don't have a license to hand it out for free. But there is a demonstration that's going to be happening, aside from this one, next weekend. So sorry, I said next. It's the 23rd, right? It's the 23rd.
Yes,
so
23rd.
2 weeks, the week after next. I'm going to be GMing it because I made it, so I know everything. And I know at least one of the two others is going to be in it, but I don't know which. Probably both. Maybe, hopefully both. Because then I can kill them. Nath hates D20 systems, so that'll be really fun. We'll make him suffer. I don't think can we announce the other guests?
Oh yeah. Well, We won't announce all the guests, but I will say that from the Foundry staff, you're going to see at least myself and Atropos, Andrew.
Company founder. He'll yell at me when I'll use Foundry wrong. It'll be great. And yes, if you want a perspective of the whole beginner box, like as a demonstration, that'll be the way to go. Otherwise, if you want a playable demo yourself, because we can't redistribute the system, my suggestion would be buy the beginner box because it won't be that expensive. It's just a short adventure, and you'll get a taster of it. And then if you like what you get, if you like the if you probably already own a PDF of it actually, because it's been in like Humble Bundles and stuff. So if you like it, it leads right into Abomination Vaults, and you can give me even more money. So buy the beginner box. There you go.
Yep. The once again for the community, the release cycle is going like this. The beginner box releases on the 16th. We're going to be live streaming as part of the community's beginner box day on both Saturday and Sunday. That's the 23rd and 24th, where we will do our absolute best to get through the adventure across 2 streams. We're going to be joined by some pretty awesome people. I think people will be excited to hear who's coming once we can make an announcement on it. Look forward to that announcement next week. After beginner box, however, on the 16th and the live stream on the 23rd, 24th, Outlaws of Alkenstar for those who are Pathfinder people. It's all new adventure path coming out this month, and we're releasing our content on the same day that the actual publication hits. Then you're going to have a month gap before we drop Abomination Vaults on everyone and completely just... It's going to be an absolute torrent of content in the next 60 days.
Bad idea. Barrios asks for Nath. How long does it take to make one of those tokens?
Some of you may notice in the Pathfinder 2e system, the iconics recently got a reskin in very much similar style to what you're seeing on the streams. I redid the iconics for the Pathfinder 2e system as kind of a trial run to see how long it would take and how much automation I could feed into it to cut the time down. On average, it takes, for the simple ones that are very easy to just frame and done, seconds, like less than a minute easily. For the ones that require a little bit more finesse, like the ones that come outside the grid square or that have a lot more action, or the original artwork might not have been quite as high quality as the rest, so it needs to be upscaled, that kind of thing. The automation process cuts it down to more like 5 to 10 minutes. So it takes a few minutes per token, and that can add up when you're talking on the scale of like 2,000 tokens eventually. But for the initial, we did Abomination Vaults tokens first, and I think I did it in an afternoon for, 2 afternoons. It was 2 afternoons worth of work for all 200, probably close to 300 creatures. And NPCs, because we're including token art for the NPCs as well.
I think we are caught up on questions. So last call to dump some in. Cora, do you have any thoughts you want to share as we wrap up?
Yeah, I guess I want to say regarding the community, I think Nath and I have both been so stunned by how amazing the response has been to this news. I don't think that I could ever have wished for a better response. Everyone has been so excited, so energized, about the announcement. We're all looking forward to this, and we're all going to have such an amazing experience when this stuff comes out. And it's to the point where when we show things that aren't finished, I'm like, oh no, they're going to judge me. And then they all go, wow, that looks great. So Nath had to get convinced that his tokens were good. He was like, yeah, they're fine. And I had to convince him they were amazing. But I think something similar happened with the journals because I kept saying, oh, the journals are work in progress. And everyone was going, those are amazing. Give them to me right now. And I mean, if you compare the ones in the trailer to the ones now, they've already changed so much because Nath and I are constantly refining them. And we're hoping, we're going to make this as good as possible, but people are already telling us that we're making the right choices. They're telling us they like the quality we're putting out. They don't think it's a waste of time. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think it speaks for itself. And I think the community, they deserve something this good. They're wonderful people, and I do love them, and that's why none of them have been banned today. Also, they gave me a lot of passes.
What are you gonna do with your 5,000 bitcoins paid upon completion of the project?
Well, I'm not allowed to adopt an opossum
Okay.
because they would be an invasive species here.
Hmm.
They're only native to like a few states in the US. So what I'm going to do instead is bully one of my friends into starting in the Americas to start a nature reserve and adopt all the possums, and then I'll live
Mhm.
there with the
Okay.
possum.
Okay, that's a good plan. I like that. I hope I can visit one day.
Yeah.
But I still need to visit Nath and his alpaca farm. There's a lot of, places I need to visit where there's also animals.
I just want to real briefly talk about. Cora mentioned, it's a point of pride the way the community response has gone on this. There's always this kind of trepidation when you're building up to an announcement for any major content partnership or anything like that. But I think people will understand the sheer size of the Pathfinder community leads to contention. And I mean, any community of a sufficient size has a lot of disagreement and, a lot of opinions circulate. We have seen an overwhelmingly positive response as a result of Tuesday's announcement. I can't put to words how great it is to see that. We posted 3 Reddit posts. I say we. I posted a Reddit post. Tim from the Pathfinder community took it on himself to go and post in the 2 Pathfinder subreddits. The announcement on Paizo.com's blog, the Discords have just been a constant stream of positivity and people really excited about this, which tells me we made a lot of really good choices. Now we just have to keep that line and keep it going strong.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a release. Normally it's like, 80% positive, 10, 15% neutral, 5%. I can't believe you did this, blah, blah, blah. It's not blah, 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 blah. But I have seen just every single comment on different subreddits and posts and such be like, man, about time. This is so awesome. I'm so excited. So clearly it's resonating well.
I also want to take a moment and shout out the absolutely phenomenal work that Matt put in on the trailer on extremely short notice, and with me basically sitting behind him going, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Right up until the time we handed it off to Paizo for their announcement. So getting to that point and seeing the amount of work he put in and seeing the community reception of the trailer and how many people are just so pumped about all of this has been an overwhelmingly pride-filling feeling for me.
Well, Cora, thank you so much for joining us. I wish you luck as you rule over your Possum and Pathfinder communities jointly with a Steel Fist. Do send Cora a possum pictures, or she will ban you.
Yes, that is important. Thank you for having me, you guys. It's been a great time. I don't know if this is where we sign off because I wasn't given a script.
Uh-huh.
If I turn my video off, will it mess up your video?
Yeah. So
Okay. Well, bye everyone. I'm out. They're kicking me off. But don't worry, we'll be starting a pirate broadcast sometime next week.
all right. Thanks again for joining us. I think then we'll just do a quick wrap up of things we've done in the community from there. And man, I'm sure we've had other premium content that's launched.
Oh yes. Oh yes. The train doesn't stop when it comes to content for Foundry Virtual Tabletop. It's not like the Paizo announcement was a big deal this week, but it's not the only thing in the world. We've got a lot of free stuff. We've got a lot of premium stuff that's happened in the past.
This isn't even like our only partnership announcement. For those who have not heard, we have recently partnered with DriveThruRPG. People who are selling content on DriveThruRPG can sell Foundry modules, and when you purchase it from there, you will be able to install it securely and safely in Foundry and have access to your content. This joins us with our Patreon integration, so that there are now subscription and buy once ways to acquire content on very popular platforms. I know that was several months in the making, and I'm glad it's now been released.
Yep. We also had, most recently, Mad Cartographer joined our Patreon integration, bringing just an absolutely ridiculous amount of maps to our community, to anyone who has subscribed to the correct tier on Mad Cartographer. It's all just total library doesn't describe it. It is a backhaul of content, just dump truck loads of maps already walled and lit for Foundry.
Mad Cartographer was over 600 by himself, and then Cora also put out his Patreon package, which was, between the two of them, over 1,000 walled and lit scenes, which is incredible. Speaking of content creators, if you've been enjoying the dulcet tones of Ivan Dutch in the background of the stream.
Yep, we actually got the Ivan Dutch. Ivan Dutch expanded his collection for us through the Patreon integration system, so there's even more. I think he's either at 200 or pushing 200 audio tracks right now available. Certainly more than 150 at this point. There's so many pieces of content coming out that it's hard to contain them.
Man, remember back when we started this and we could list the modules that came out that were notable?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with at this point. There's just so much just free stuff, saleable stuff, that kind of thing. I notice a quick question in chat I will address right away about whether or not we'll be giving anything away. We generally don't for Hammering It Out streams. I think I won't make any promises, but for Beginner Box Day, I think we may try. So there might be some giveaways for that. And yeah, sorry, it's never been on the menu for Hammering It Out. We can only give so much away at one time.
Our budget all goes towards our drinks and vests,
We also had content drop in the last month from our good friend Rugalt over at Dragon's Horn Tales. I always want to pronounce that as Dragon Shorn. It's definitely Dragon's Horn. I think he dropped another full dungeon crawl adventure ready to go with walls, lights, and new monsters and a bunch of stuff. So certainly go check out Rugalt's content. He is a super consistent independent developer for Foundry, and we are always excited to see new content from him.
For those who haven't bought his content before, I think all of his content is both 3.5e and 5e compatible, which means you can play the same adventure in both systems, whichever one's your favorite. Or both, I guess.
It would be unfair of me to let it go past without mentioning AEW games absolutely staggeringly huge content drop for D&D 5e with Rise of the Drow. It is a full 1 to 20 adventure, which I think would probably eat up 2, 3, or more years worth of play sessions for you and your players. I saw the content announcement from Matt on it and just went, oh yeah, it's just another D&D 5e adventure, and then saw the list of what it actually includes for actors and everything, and it's just, it is an abundance of content ready to go.
Now we had a couple creators that we've had in the past deploy some new stuff as well. Cubicle 7 released Wrath and Glory. We had the Age of Sigmar starter set for Warhammer role-playing game in the Age of Sigmar system. Oh man, there's more. And I gotta keep scrolling back. Speaking of Arthur RPG, if you want to acquire this little-known publisher, Foundry Virtual Tabletop's first adventure, Demon Queen Awakens, you can now buy it on Drive-Thru RPG. If you already had access to it via Patreon, you were been issued keys. It's in your account already.
Yep, our first in-house developed and released adventure, with hopefully more coming in the future.
Oh, and how could I forget when we mentioned Ivan Dutch, but he has even more music via the Even More Music pack. Maybe that's just how we titled it. 150 total tracks and 75 themed playlists, now available via his Patreon. Demon Queen is a D&D 5e adventure, not Pathfinder 2e.
Yeah. Foundry Virtual Tabletop includes many systems for free, including an SRD-based D&D 5e system.
For those who watched our last Hammering It Out, we had on Alex from Matt the Mad Cartographer. We were talking about Crucible, the magazine that he was kickstarting to bring D&D 5e content and interviews and adventures and items and comics, all as a printed magazine with Foundry modules ready to play. They successfully launched a Kickstarter, raising nearly $100,000 to do so with 1.1 thousand backers. So thanks to everyone who joined onto that.
I'll also tack in just offhandedly that though Demon Queen is balanced for 5e, I'm sure an enterprising GM with an intimate knowledge of Pathfinder 2e could probably convert it for use at their own table with a little bit of elbow grease and some effort.
I converted Demon Queen Awakens for 13th Age and had a lot of fun playing it. So yes, I believe it's convertible. So even just the journals and lore alone is written. I think our teammate Roman wrote, I think how many hundreds of pages of lore for Demon Queen Awakens?
I don't actually know. I know that the sheer level of content that he dropped in the space of 2 weeks was staggering. I think Demon Queen is probably one of the most, I'm biased of course, but I think it's probably one of the most well-written short adventures that I've seen put together for Foundry. I mean, easy to say that. It's a first-party product that we all put effort into.
Yeah, let me just say, it's my favorite adventure ever, and I'm not paid to say that.
There was a question that I saw just a moment. With the AV release pending, is there a corresponding PDF version available on Paizo's site? The answer is sort of. We're basing our AV release, Abomination Vaults release, on the hardcover omnibus re-release of Abomination Vaults from Paizo, which, as I'm led to understand, does have some errata, does have some things in it that aren't in the 3-book version. And it will be available in PDF. However, there is one clear line that I will make. The maps from Narki, the tokens that we're providing, all the extra content that we're building in, that stuff will not be coupled with the PDF. All those things are Foundry Virtual Tabletop exclusive.
I saw someone ask, does having Paizo on board make it easier to gain WotC interest? I don't know. I don't work for WotC.
Yeah,
Let me call him.
It's
Hey,
kind of easy to give a shrug answer to that. We of course are always interested in working with any publisher that we can form a good, strong partnership with. So while we would like to say that having Paizo on board leads to potential for D&D content, there's been no movement in that way we can discuss. There's nothing that there's no new news we can offer on it. It's just it'll happen when it happens, and
if it happens.
And I'd like to think that if it does happen, we'd bring the same level of if it was a similar relationship, we would try and bring the same level of first party content that we're bringing with the Paizo partnership.
As Matt mentions, make sure you register to vote. Go down to your local voting office and write in WotC content for Foundry on your local ballot.
It's come up a couple of times, so I'll just address it again just to really drive the point home. People are asking a lot about what the price difference will be between like the PDF and our release. We haven't formalized a pricing structure that we're ready to share with the public yet. I think people will be really pleased with how it pans out, but you never know. I'd like to think that we're going to price the content at a price point where people will be very satisfied to pay that much above the PDF cost. It will be more than the PDF. I don't think that'll surprise anyone with the amount of content we're bringing.
Where will we announce a big Interbatch box? I assume in our content channel.
Yep. Once it's available for sale, we'll drop an announcement on our Discord. It'll also be linked to from our premium content pages on foundryvtt.com. I expect, though I don't know for sure, it may end up on the Paizo blog, but it will certainly end up on the Paizo store, which is where it'll be purchasable.
Okay, I'm streaming.
Obvious cat tax.
Obvious cat tax. I think that's the end of our questions from the community. Any upcoming streams or content that outside? We already announced that we're going to be doing some streams for Beginner Box Day. I don't think we have any idea on when the Prototype 2 is coming, and therefore the stream for it.
Well, I wouldn't say that we don't have any idea, but we don't have a formalized schedule for when the stream would be. We've got a pretty good idea when the update's gonna drop, and are working at breakneck pace towards it. But the stream we're a little bit more flexible on stream scheduling because it usually requires Andrew take time out of development to do so, and we don't want him to do that too often because, well, let's face it, the product is what it is, and it's as strong as it is because he spends so much time on development.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up all the content we have. Anything else you can think of?
I just want to thank the community and especially shout out all of the people who helped us get here with regard to the Paizo partnership, especially people like Amy from Sigil Entertainment, Tim Muncie from the Pathfinder 2E development community, as well as, I'm going to butcher your name, sorry, Nick, Nikolaj? Yeah, sorry. Who those two were in the driver's seat of helping to arrange this for quite some time, as well as Fry Guy, who pushed us to a whole new tier for content conversion, and Andrew White and Mark Moreland from Paizo, who have been championing with us to get this content out to the people as best we can. And just the overwhelming response from the community itself. So thank you, everyone, for bringing us this far.
There's so many other members that could be talked about. Of course, Shark, like that talks like a man, walks like a man. Sorry, is one I know because he asks me development questions all the time. I cannot stress how big the amount of people working on Pathfinder 2nd Edition is. It's just so many people.
And of course, you know, Matt from our own staff with the trailer, partnering with the guys over at Sirenscape and Forgotten Adventures for allowing us to continue to use their assets to produce really high-tier quality content.
All right, I think it's time to sign off then. Matt, play the outro CGI clip.
Play us off, Matt!